Welcome to Kevin's European Garage, and today I'm going to be changing the inner and the outer tie rods on my 1999 Porsche 911. If you're new to my channel, thanks for stopping by, and if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, I hope you plan on becoming one. So now let's get ready to start working on this car. But unfortunately, before we can start here, I let my battery drain. I left the headlights on. I'm so used to having my other car where you turn the key off, it automatically shuts them off. Well, this one, obviously, it doesn't do that. So I forgot to turn it off, and then I drained the battery, killed it completely. So I ended up not being able to lift up in the trunk. And the main problem is that on the 99, they don't have that little fuse that you can pull out in the fuse box and you can connect the power to. This is an early car, this doesn't have it. So the only way that you can really get to it is you have to pull off the wheel over here, and then you gotta pull out the fender liner, and then you can undo the latch in the front. And I've also seen someone come over to the trunk, and underneath the light over here, they say there's a cable inside here. I tried lifting this thing up, I couldn't really see in there, and I didn't want to pull too hard because I didn't want to potentially damage the paint over here. So what I ended up doing was pulling up this cover over here, and I was able to get just enough access to the lever mechanism, and there's a little lock that slides back and forth when the actuator slides back and forth, and I was able to undo this. But I don't really think that's the best way to do it. I was only able to lift up this side and not that side, and when I put it back together, the rod got kind of stuck, and it didn't really work out that well. So in the future, I'll do another video on how to do this. Maybe I can find another way. Maybe there's something else you can do instead of having to pull apart and take the tire off, you know, and pull the fender liner off. Or maybe I'll pull out that tail light and see what's going back over there, and maybe reroute the cable so if something happens in the future, I can easily get to it, and I'll do something on that. But today is going to be about the inner and outer tie rods. Let's get going on that. So here we go. These are the parts that we're going to be changing here. These are the inner tie rods. These are the outer tie rods, and I got a nice brand new boot kit, and all these parts come from TRW. They were the original manufacturer of the steering rack for the 911, and these are all the original OE parts, just with the TRW name instead of Porsche's name on it. So this is what we're going to be putting in the car today. So now that we got the car up in the air, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this cover. I think I have a feeling that I might be able to get just enough space in there to access the rack. When I put the new boots on, I'll be able to clamp down on the clamp that's supplied with the boots. Unfortunately, it's only going to work for one side and not the other. Oh well, it is what it is. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do over here is we're going to break this nut free, and then eventually we're going to take off the nut over here that holds on the joint. But let's break this one free first. So the trick to taking these things off and at least getting the car somewhat all right so that you can drive it to a good alignment is count the amount of turns that it took to take this off. So we're gonna do that now. So that was 26 turns to get this thing off. All right, so next, let's take off the inner tie rod and get this nut off. We just got to take off this clamp over here, and then we're gonna have to take off the clamp on the inside. So right on top over there, that's where the clamp is on the inside. You just have to put a screwdriver in there and just have to pry that thing apart. You see a little tab on it. You just pry it up and then pull the boot off. All right, here's the clamp. And now we're left with the inner tie rod. Okay, so unfortunately, while I'm trying to take this thing off, I really can't get the camera in there and actually give you a good picture at it of what it looks like to take this off. So I'm gonna do this over here. I'm gonna show you here first. You can either use this tool, which will slide over the inner tie rod, and then you put this wrench type thing on there. Go. Locks it in place. You can twist it to get it on and off. Or subsequently, if you don't have this, most people won't, you can use, say, a pipe wrench, and you should be able to get something, you know, something small like this on here and take it off this way. So this is the inner tie rod that I removed, and this thing actually doesn't feel that bad. I might hold on to this just because, even though it's got 70 something miles on it, but it actually feels really tight, nice and tight all the way around. Doesn't feel like it's binding or anything like that, so it's probably still pretty good. The outer one though, it's still pretty tight, but it's got a little bit of a, I'd say where it binds, and there's a couple like little loose spots inside there where it's just not very tight and not very smooth. So this thing probably could use to get replaced anyways. So the new inner tie rod, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of blue Loctite on here just to make sure that this thing doesn't come apart. And here's some blue Loctite. So when you tighten this up, you get tightened down to 59 foot-pounds. Okay, so I screwed in the inner tie rod, and I got the part of the wrench or the tool to put on there. And now we put this on. And that's 59 foot-pounds. All right, so we'll take off the nut. Okay, so time to put the boot on. Put this clamp on first. Let's slide this down. Well, unfortunately, that's not going to work. That boot doesn't fit on there. The diameter of the steering rack where the boot sits on the inside over here is actually smaller than the boot itself. So we got to use the old one. Luckily enough, my old boots, they're in pretty good condition still. There's no tears, there's no rips on them or anything like that. So I have no problem reusing my old ones. But I guess that's something that I gotta think about in the future. I was hoping I'd be able to get the clamp on with it at the same time, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. So I have to put the boot on first and then put the clamp on afterwards. So that also means that new clamp isn't going to work either, so we got to reuse the old one. So after some fighting, I got the clamp back on. That's the original clamp and the original boot. And now what's next is to put the outer tie rod on and connect that to the knuckle. Sorry I had to do that off camera, but I put my hand in there and I tried to film it and you just couldn't see anything. There was just no real point in me doing it. It wasn't easy. I was able to reach from underneath a little bit. There's a little hole over here, so I was able to get it from the bottom. I don't know what to do on the other side because that little space is not there. So the other side is gonna be a little bit more difficult. So now let's put this outer clamp back on. And this outer tie rod, when we put this on, this had 26 turns. You know, you're definitely gonna need an alignment after this, but at least this will kind of get you in the ballpark. It'll make it safe enough for you to drive back to the shop to get the alignment. So it's one. Would also help though to first put on the on the locking nut. All right, and 26 turns. One. "26 turns. I've known for a while now that my strut tops are in pretty bad shape, and I was getting those things replaced when I do coilovers. And now that I got this thing off over here and I can move them around with these to see how bad they are, they're pretty bad. Coilovers are coming in very, very soon. The nut. And this gets torqued down to 33 foot-pounds. And last, tighten that up. And this just goes tight. So that's it. That's how you put on the inner and the outer tie rods. And then after you get these done, you absolutely have to go for alignment. There's no way you can kind of get away with doing it like I've been doing my lower control arms. So thanks for watching me replace my inner and the outer tie rod on my 1999 Porsche 911 over here. Fortunately, like, I can't really film a lot of the inside where it's a little bit more difficult to get to. For the most part, it's pretty self-explanatory as far as what you're supposed to do. And like I said, after you get this done, you definitely have to go and bring this and get an alignment. Thanks for watching. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.